Welcome to this edition of the Big Apple's CoRe podcast. I'm Courtney Grill, Business Development Director at Skanska USA Building, and today I'm joined by Larry Charlip and Shayna Isenberg. Larry and Shayna, can you introduce yourselves and tell us what you do?
Sure. So I'm Shayna Isenberg. I am currently an integrated program manager for JLL on a large financial services client in Connecticut. I've been with JLL about a little over 3 years. And
Hi. So I've been in facilities and real estate for about 30 years, from running mailrooms to running global corporate real estate portfolios, and I'm currently the president of CoreNet New York.
Yes, we're excited to have you both. So this episode, we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the CoreNet Mentorship program, which is a great program. So Larry and Shayna are going to talk about their experience going through the program as a mentor and a mentee. But first, I'd really like to hear about kind of why you've decided to participate in the program, and what you hope to get out of it when you both signed up originally.
We did the program in 2019, right before the world imploded. And I had been in New York about a year and a half, and I'm always, stockpiling my nuts. I think that the more people, more educated and like-minded people you have in your corner to help build your career, the better. And so I don't believe that I just need one mentor. Like, I keep really good people around me, and I want to make sure like I have that good group, like that good support group. And so anytime when I saw that it's just perfect timing when the mentorship program is like, we're looking for new people, I was like, yes, sign me up. Like, I want a mentor, especially for New York, getting my feet wet in an industry that's so robust, in a city that's so vibrant, and just trying to get my foot in the door, that I was just like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah, and I've had a ton of mentors throughout my career, never in a formal mentorship program, but have really built my career on networking and mentorship. And when I was getting more and more involved with CoreNet and learned about the mentorship program, I just thought it was an incredible program. I had some conversations with the folks that ran it. They were particularly looking for more end users to get involved. And it was an interesting time because I had always been mentored and never had been a mentor. So it took me a minute to really realize that was something that I was capable of doing. And I'm glad I did, because, to be honest, I've learned as much from being a mentor as I feel, that Shayna tells me she's learned from working together. So I think it's a mutually beneficial arrangement if you do it right. Mm-hmm. And it's a great program. There's really a lot of freedom to kind of run it the way you want to. So I really enjoyed it, and once we got going, and particularly right after Shayna and I kind of met, was when, like as Shayna said, the world imploded. So it was a really interesting time.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful program, and I'm glad I joined it.
Absolutely. And I think one of the great things about it, if I can add to that, is, and I'm not sure if the process has changed much since then, but the directors of the program, they interview I don't know if they interview all the mentors, but they interview all the mentees to make sure they get a grasp at your personality so that they can effectively match up the mentors and the mentees. And I think they did an excellent job. So I think Larry was like a last minute ad, and I think it was perfect.
That's great. Yeah. I know they also, the mentors and the mentee pairs get together each year, throughout the year, and once a month for a happy hour every month. I was in the program probably about 6 years ago, and that was also a great benefit, just talking and interacting with the other pairs.
Yep. I mean, Larry and I meet weekly. Unless
still. I mean, it's
3 years later.
Almost 4 years later, and we meet on a weekly basis. And it's been, like I said, it's still beneficial to both of us. Mm-hmm. Like, we bounce ideas off of each other on things. Yeah. And sometimes it's just to say hi.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has nothing to do with business or anything like that. Exactly. We live near each other. We talk about travel, mm-hmm. all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's a great thing, because you build personal relationships. It's not just about business. So much of what we do when we network at CoreNet is business related. And this really gets to build a personal relationship. And the program does a great job of bringing people together for happy hours. As COVID went on, we were doing virtual coffee hours and things like that. So, they've done a really good job of keeping people connected. They have a graduation program. It's just a wonderfully set up organization. I've actually mirrored it for other organizations I've worked with to build mentorship programs.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
that's
also
great.
think it's very beneficial that, you're paired, for the most part, I'm not quite sure if it always works out this way, but you're paired up with people outside of your own organization. So you can build your diverse, Rolodex of contacts and just seeing how other people do things. And it's good to kind of have that third party, someone outside of your organization, to have a therapy session with and just, get all that anxiety and all that built up, if there's any built up frustrations, we all have work stressors in our lives, to just kind of have that person to listen and provide guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to get that outside perspective.
Yeah.
Which is great and helpful. So at your points in your career, do you feel like it helped you both? How do you feel like the program helped you both personally and professionally?
Well, for me, personally, it's helped me because, as I said, I didn't think at the time, even at the time when I met Shayna, the first time I was being a mentor, I'd been in the business 25 years, and I still didn't think of myself as being in a position to be a mentor. So kind of stepping into it and stepping out of that box a little bit personally has helped me, because it helped me, also helped me continue to refine how I mentor people within my organization, or even as part of leadership for CoreNet. So it's really helped me build those skills. That has meant a lot to me.
I was giggling when you asked that question, because I definitely attribute my relationship with Larry to the success I've seen in just, the last 4 years. When we had first gotten matched up, I was at a crossroads in my career at the time, and he gave, I don't say he gave me the confidence, because I had it in myself, but he helped support the confidence within me to be prepared for my next adventure. And I was able to promote into the occupancy planning world at JLL. And then more recently, again, helped me find that confidence within myself as I moved into this new role only within the last month or so. So I definitely attribute, this program and Larry's involvement in my life to a lot of that.
Yeah, and the interesting side of that, coming back to today, is I'm going through transition in my career as well, and just Shane and I still chat, and some of the things that I've talked to her about thinking about your skills outside of what you're doing today, but more about, well, what else is there out there with my skills can I do? Her and I have these conversations because now I'm going through that myself. I'm going through a career transformation and trying to figure out what my next step is, and is it running a real estate department again, or is it doing something else? So taking those conversations that her and I have had over the last few years and really turning them inside and looking at them again, it's very fluid and helpful situation.
That is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think your favorite part about the program has been?
Go ahead.
Meeting Larry.
Definitely Shane and I, and a little later we're going to talk with Nekesha, who I've mentored as well. We've built a great relationship, and I've gotten great friends out of it. That's beyond anything else. Is I'm a big relationships kind of person, both in my personal life and business life. I like to build long-lasting relationships. I have friends that I've been friends with for many years. I have people I've done business with who I'm friends with for 20 years. So building those relationships has been the best part of it.
I would agree. What do you want to tell others who may be interested in the program, or may not know it exists? But what would you say to others who might be interested, both as a mentor and a mentee?
Yeah, I would say follow that. If you have an inkling that you're interested, go for it. There's literally nothing to lose. A bit of advice is just you get out of it what you put into it. So you have to put in the effort to make the connection, to reach out, to initiate those conversations, and I think the rest will follow. But like I said earlier, it's always great to have a person that you can talk to, that you can, just bounce ideas off of. And, I think that's one of the greatest things about having a mentor.
Yeah, I think, from the mentee side, I think the thing I would say is it's never too soon to seek out mentorship, and it's never too late. I mean, I had mentors 30 years ago. I still seek out mentors today. From the mentee side of it, just focusing on what you're able to give, right? To understand that even if you don't think you are in a place in your career, there is somebody who can learn something from where you've been and what you've done. And it's really just about building relationship and talking about it, just like any other relationship you have with friends, family, whatever. It's just talking and learning what similarities you have. So people can learn from you. You can learn from people. It's a two-way street. And the one thing that's great, one of the things that's great about the CoreNet mentorship program is the way they structure it, where the mentee, they really put the emphasis on the mentee to kind of drive the conversations. But once you build that relationship, then it just kind of flows. It doesn't feel forced. It helps the mentees kind of gain that confidence of establishing those relationships. So jump in, and they make it really easy to do.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anybody who has signed up maybe and are in the beginning stages of the mentorship program? What advice would you give somebody who's new to the program?
My advice is just to commit to it. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. I've had 3 mentees, 2 that I've established really good relationships. 1 didn't work out for a number of reasons. I feel it was a commitment. It's a commitment issue. So commit to it and work out, the schedule that works for you. It doesn't have to be weekly, monthly. It could be quarterly. Whatever it is, just work it out and commit to it.
Yeah, I would 100% absolutely agree with that. Like I said, you get out of it what you put into it. And yeah, I think the first hurdle is just getting that introduction call, just outlining, what both of your goals are out of the program, out of the relationship. And you go from there. It's just, yeah, it gets easier to maintain that relationship once you start.
Yeah, it really is. It's just like therapy, right?
Yeah.
Like it's you build a relationship and you commit to it, and as long as the dialogue is open, the relationship can go anywhere you want it to be.
Yeah.
So it's free therapy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even better. So we like to end each segment with a New York Minute. So this is rapid fire questions. I guess we'll alternate. I'll ask Larry first and then Shayna for this question. What's your favorite way to get around the city?
These days I drive. Since COVID, I don't really take the train all that much, but I used to be a huge train person.
Shayna?
The subway.
The subway. What's your favorite lunch spot?
Ooh. I'm a huge fan of Katz's Deli.
That is good.
Not sure it's a great lunch spot because you'll need a nap after, but
Yeah,
I'm a
absolutely.
huge fan.
I get fed at work.
That's amazing.
But when I'm in the
You can't
city,
beat that.
Yeah, when I'm in the city, whatever's close by. I'm actually, since I'm on this side of town, heading to Modern Bread and Bagel because they have the best gluten-free stuff ever.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So.
What is your favorite after-work hangout?
So my wife and I a few years ago discovered Blue Ribbon Sushi right near where we are today, and we try to go about every 2 weeks. We go there, so that's a great hangout.
Any rooftop bar I'm invited to.
That sounds great. And there's a beautiful rooftop space where we are now
Yes,
at the
there
Steelcase
is.
showroom. And Blue Ribbon Sushi happens to be around the corner.
Yes.
Which is great. And we thank Steelcase for letting us use this beautiful spot. And then last question. If you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would you say?
I'm gonna let you take that first.
Oh boy. Take the risks. Don't be afraid. Dive head first. Live all the experiences. Just don't hold back. Very vague. I'm sorry.
No, I think I go back to what I said before. Whatever you do, commit to it. Commit to it, and you'll work hard to get where you want to go.
Thank you. This has been an excellent conversation, and we look forward to hanging out with you more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we have Nekesha Sawh and Larry Charlip. And Larry and Nekesha, I'll let you tell us a little bit about yourselves. What do you do?
Great. So I'm Nekesha Sawh. I'm with Hines. I've been with Hines for about 5 years, but in the industry, started out many, many moons ago at Forest City Ratner, which is a Brooklyn developer. So 20 plus years in the industry. I'm currently senior portfolio manager of our sustainability and environmental health and safety programming for a particular client in New York. So I'm not going to say the client, but keeps me really busy. So looking at the workplace and how we make it more sustainable, more efficient is my daily task.
Larry Charlip, I have 30 years experience in facilities and corporate real estate, everything from running mailrooms to running global portfolios. Currently in transition, but I am the president of CoreNet New York.
Thank you for joining us. We're here to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the CoreNet Mentorship program. So we're excited to feature this mentor-mentee pair. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were looking to get out of the program when you signed up for it?
So I definitely had a little bit of free time. I was a part of the 2020 Mentee Mentor program, and during the pandemic, as I was trying to figure out how to operate my office, kind of what crazy things to do, I was now on an agile flex schedule, so I had some time at work and said, why not sign up for the mentor program? I can dedicate some time. As an end user, that is the hardest part of our day, is finding time for ourselves to do the things we want to do. Larry, by chance, was hosting, I think it was like weekly or daily half-an-hour coffee chats about how do we tackle what's happening in the industry, how we're changing, no one's in the office. And I was like, he's a really cool guy. And signed up for the program. And then when I got my match, it was Larry. And I was like, I'm a lucky gal. And he just had so much insight that I felt like this is someone now that I can really touch base with and talk about my day-to-day, what's happening in my world. And he would understand that. And it was a great match, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. When Nekesha and I were matched up, it was the second time I was mentoring through the program, and it was at the beginning of COVID, as Nekesha was saying. And so we didn't meet in person for quite a while after that, so it was all virtual. But some of the stuff that Nekesha was working on, which was very health and safety related for her client, and what I was running with my organization, it really was a great match at that time because we really did bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. But also, just kind of talking about how to navigate what was going on in the world. Nekesha's got 20-something years of experience in the industry. I've got 30 years of experience, just like everybody else. Nobody had experienced what we were going through. So that was a unique opportunity to just have somebody to talk with and figure out what the heck was going on. I think we're still trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, we're throwing everything on the wall, make it stick.
That was a good time to have a mentor-mentee.
And during that time, I transitioned in my role. So I went from operating on the facility side to now transitioning to the program development for a portfolio for the client. And so that was like a great time where I was also called Larry and said, oh my God, they've asked me to do this thing and I don't think I can do it because I know how to run a building. Tell me how to run a building, I'm there. Tell me about like thinking strategically, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And like he talked me off that ledge where I was like saying to my SVP, no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. And he's like, no, you've got this. You've got the years. You can't take away that experience. And he reminded me to believe in myself. And so it was like great to have that person in that critical moment where I was like things were changing and someone like helped me along the way.
Yeah, when Nekesha and I would talk, I mean, her enthusiasm for what we do in our business is, and anybody who's seen her on a panel, you see the enthusiasm. Sometimes you just need to know that you could do the next thing, right? And the next thing and the next thing. So those were a lot of the conversations we had, and it was really a lot of fun because I learned a lot from the building management side of things from Nekesha as well, because she's got a lot more experience on the building end that I have.
That's great. That's helpful. So I guess that leads me into how is this program or your mentor-mentee pairing? How has it helped you in both your personal life and professional life?
I definitely say personally, it's helped me get confidence. Having someone who, like I said, doubting myself, definitely being a woman of color in the industry, no matter how many years I've had, there's always that imposter syndrome that you kind of like how to trust yourself, it. And Larry helped me with that. And then when we actually became back in person, we saw each other for the first time. I think it was right before the 2021 annual event.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it was like, oh my God, you're not a square on a screen. And so it definitely also helped me to get back out there and get more involved in CoreNet. And like I said, as an end user, it was always like the excuse, oh, I'm running late, or, I'm working late. And so having this now connection with someone who, when I walk into a room, he's there, was kind of like a good safety net, and it helped me become a social butterfly.
And Nekesha and I have a lot of things in common. Our career trajectories, personally, we both kind of fell into what we do, right? Neither one of us went to school particularly for what we do. We both had families young. Nekesha has kids in college. My son, when we were starting the mentorship program, my son was just graduating college. So we had a lot of things in common, and I think just that, again, with what was going on in the world at that time, that pairing really helped just to kind of be like, yeah, we've been through this. We've had to figure our way out before, and kind of just navigating through that. So, and that personally helped me as well. It was great to see.
Absolutely, and that's a good point. You both had similar career trajectories. I think you both have are impressive in your careers. Can you tell us a little bit about how you kind of got to where you are today in your careers?
Yeah, definitely. So I started out as a property admin. I was going to college, wanted to be an accountant, loved numbers. So like my high school years going into college, I knew that I was going to be like head of accounting somewhere. I worked at the American Stock Exchange in my high school years. Like, I knew numbers. And then I became a mom really young. And so that kind of switched gears a little bit and had to take time to focus on my son. And I had a recruiter who's like, hey, there's a place that you might like. And I lived in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl, lived there for over 30 years. And he's like, this might be a really good commute for you. Do you want to check it out? They work with numbers, because I was all about the numbers. He's like, you're going to operate a building and you're going to learn how to run the building's budget. And so I started off as a property admin. So when I went on my interview, I never forget, with my property manager, he's like, you're overqualified for this job, right? I was like, yeah, but I want to try something different. And immediately, I'd say by week 2, I just fell in love with how a building operated. It wasn't just the numbers, it was the security staff, the engineering, and just stuck with it. So I was a property admin for about 10 years, then went into a role as facility manager. I managed the FDNY headquarters down at 9 Metro Tech. So anybody in New York City that had to get an FDNY certificate had to come by my office at some point. And that was a really, really good experience that I had. And then Hines brought me on because I also, in that role, did a lot of projects. And so when I was an FM, the commissioner at that time, he really wanted to revamp the FDNY. It was pretty outdated in the facilities, and so he really wanted to give the employees something they felt proud about. So I actually did my first agile remodel of FDNY's headquarters, and so Laura Patel, who is now one of our leaders, introduced me to CoreNet. And so with that relationship, and she worked with me on the project, building out the space, just kind of really transitioned me to know more about CoreNet, and like I said, get out there, and joined Hines to launch their Amazon facilities when they were running it in New York. And that's just increasingly gone on and on and on, that I've gone up the ranks.
Yeah, I got out of high school, and I really didn't have an opportunity at the time to go to college. And my older sister, who I was living with at the time, was like, well, if you're not in school, you're going to go get a job. And she helped me get a job. I started in a mailroom for a commodities trading company. that about 6 months later lost several $billions and were downsizing. And I lasted there for 2.5 years and left there as assistant office manager 2.5 years later, and learned construction and telephone systems, and just over the years have gone from position to position, each time taking on something new. And this year will be 30 years since I started in that mailroom. And I've, just always kind of focused on what's the next thing, what else can I do, what more can I do. Worked for a law firm, commodities trading company, pharmaceutical research, Rolling Stone, the publisher of Rolling Stone and Us Weekly magazine, and then most recently 10 years at Take Two Interactive, growing their portfolio from, we had 3,500 employees when I started 10 years ago. Today we have 11,000 employees in 100 offices globally. So just, going from one place to the other and learning as you go.
That's great. It's an impressive trajectory for you both. And you're both in leadership positions within CoreNet. Larry's the president of the chapter, and Nekesha chairs our career development committee. Can you tell us how this program has helped you with your overall experience within CoreNet?
I'd say it definitely allowed me to think about giving back. So that's why I joined the committee. And so I started off last year on the Occupier Forum Committee, and really kind of getting a feel of like what's the content built out, what are the events, and how do you actually make our members feel like they're part of something, which is, like I said, what the mentorship program did. It made me feel a part of CoreNet because I had that direct connection. And I think in this new role that I have as chair, it's really building out content that makes our members figure out where they want to go in their career. So tying in mentorship, young leaders, our DEI initiatives are like really key, and I'm passionate about that.
Yeah, I joined CoreNet about 10 years ago. And I don't know how to do things halfway, so I joined and immediately was on 3 or 4 different committees. Met Tommy O'Halloran, which is both a blessing and a curse, because Tommy also doesn't know how to do things halfway. So if you team up with him, you're going to get dragged along to everything. So I ran several committees. About 2 years ago, I was asked to join leadership. Again, kind of what talked about earlier with mentorship, like I wasn't quite sure if I was in a position to be in leadership in CoreNet. But the folks who were in leadership at the time, Tommy and Allison and a few others who are really good friends of mine, I figure what better time than now to do it. But also, I feel like our industry, it came about at a time where our industry is at this point of inflection and where are we going to go? And I really I have a lot of passionate views on DEI and sustainability and kind of helping CoreNet grow and tapping into the youth in the organization, which is really the next phase of what we do with CoreNet. So I just thought it was a great opportunity to do that, and I knew Nekesha, and I said, she's perfect for the organization. So we had a lot of conversations about, chairing committees and stuff like that. And I just put her, I put her up for it and wouldn't let her say no.
That's true.
That's basically what happened.
He's like, you're going to do this, right? I'm like, I guess so. But it's been worth it. It's been all worth it.
Do you have any advice for anybody who is not currently a CoreNet member and may be interested in just joining CoreNet as a whole?
I call CoreNet my one of my tribes with a vibe. I've definitely had some really great times. I've made some friends and some friends who I now consider like lifelong friends. So definitely, I'd say for anyone thinking of becoming a member, you will find your tribe here. There hasn't been not one person that I've met that didn't want to share information, and I think that was a key part for me, which was critical to Larry's point. We're in this very unsure space, and everyone was helping each other out.
I think the advice I would get is you get out of it what you put into it. So if any end of that spectrum is fine. If you're not looking, if all you're looking to get out of it is connections in the industry, that's fine. We have a lot of events to come to, and can meet end users and service providers, etc. But if you're looking to gain knowledge, build friendships, build relationships, there's that as well. So it's all, what you want to do. If you want to learn how to be a leader, it's a great opportunity because you can get involved in a committee and work your way up without being thrown into something. And you can learn from people who have experience in running committees, running events, etc. So there's so many different things that you can learn that will translate into your career or into your personal life. So again, you get out of it what you put into it.
I completely agree. I think I am fortunate enough to say that a lot of the people who I interact with within CoreNet are now my personal friends, and I feel very, very lucky for that.
Yeah, it's one of the things when I wasn't sure if I was going to join leadership, and I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, well, you're going to do it eventually, and the people who are in leadership now are some of your best friends, so why not do it with your friends?
Yeah.
And it really has been, and as well, Mindy Williams, who's our incoming vice president this year, we're just a really tight-knit group.
It is.
It is.
It's great. And then do you have any advice for anybody who would be potentially interested in the mentorship program?
I would say as a mentee, definitely come to the mentorship program with a plan. So, and I don't mean in a plan as like you've got to know where you're going in your career, but definitely come with a plan that you're going to dedicate your time, because I feel like that was the really key piece. Even though we weren't meeting in person, we dedicated time out of our busy schedule to meet, have conversations, and also get to know each other. Because in life you need sponsors, you need mentors, and you need allies, and definitely this program helps with that.
Yeah, I completely agree. We talked about it earlier, but commit to it. And again, whatever it is you want to get out of it, just commit to that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So we end each segment with a New York Minute. So it's a rapid fire questions. I'll start with Nekesha first this time. What is one thing that is unique about your New York experience?
I get to see some of the most amazing skyscrapers on a daily basis.
I'm born and bred New Yorker, and I absolutely love this city. And being in real estate and facilities, I think what Nekesha just touched on is, getting to see some really cool stuff, like, sitting in an open floor on the top of the World Trade Center, listening to Larry Silverstein speak. I mean, you just don't get those kind of experiences anywhere else in this world.
That was pretty special.
Yeah.
I would agree. What is one interesting fact about yourself?
I am born and raised in Belize, Central America. And it is my favorite place in the world. Mm-hmm.
When I was about 10 years old, I got my older brother arrested for kidnapping.
What is your favorite New York movie?
Maybe Made in Manhattan. I'd have to say that. Made in Manhattan. Mm-hmm.
That's so tough. I mean, there are so many great New York movies, but I mean, I mentioned earlier on our earlier segment that one of my favorite restaurants is Katz's. So When Harry Met Sally scene in Katz's is one of the best New York scenes ever.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah.
But hold on, I am a Brooklyn girl, so then I have to also say atop of Made in Manhattan, it's also got to be Crooklyn, because it was filmed down the block from my house in Brooklyn.
That's pretty cool. What is one thing that sparked your interest in industry news recently?
Definitely the conversations about how many corporations are pulling back their DEI initiatives since we are now 3 years post George Floyd. So that is something that's very top of mind right now. And I've just taken on the role within Hines as our Black Employee Network East Region Ambassador. So working on diversity and inclusion is very important right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the conversations around RTO still shocks me. I mean, JP Morgan just announced they're going to push their top bankers to 5 days a week, and it looks like the rest of the organization, and kind of where JP Morgan's gone recently is where everybody else starts to follow. You know, the other piece would be the cutbacks that are happening, particularly in the tech sector today, and you know what that means with Facebook and Amazon, particularly with their real estate here in New York, Google, etc. Those have kind of shocked me a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for joining us, and
Thank you for having us.
we look forward to seeing everybody at an upcoming CoreNet event.
Yeah. And the 10-year celebration.
10 years. It's a great
10
program.
years of mentoring.